Update, brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300. Manx Radio's Update with Andy Wint.
Good evening, it's 5:30. This is Update for Monday, 26th of February 2024 from Manx Radio. 30 minutes looking at the latest news from the Isle of Man. A background to that news, we got sport and business and sea watch and travel updates and the newsmakers in person. This evening, Douglas Beach death inquest opened today. Government say they can't cut employee headcount just like that. Braddan Roundhouse nursery opening's been delayed. Too expensive for the Ben My Chree to be on permanent standby. And a big reality check as the Ravens get thumped 6-1.
Man Benham for all your business and legal needs.
First of all, at 29 minutes ahead of 6 o'clock, the Update News headlines. Fastamai, Chanel Soku.
Fastamai. An Arbory, Castletown and Maloo MHK is urging the Chief Minister to listen to the public amid calls for a change at the top. Tim Glover is among a number of politicians seeking feedback from the public on the future of Alfred Cannon's administration. The steam packet company says it's too expensive to keep the Ben My Chree ready for sea at all times. Currently, if there's an issue with the Manxman, it takes 12 hours to prepare the vessel as a replacement. And there's a hustings meeting ahead of Ramsey Town Commissioner's South Ward by-election this evening. It's due to start at 7 p.m. in the West Hall at Ramsey Grammar School. All 4 by-election candidates will also be present. In international news, the SNP says it's been stitched up by the Westminster establishment after the Speaker of the House of Commons denied it a debate on Gaza. It's understood there'll be a government statement tomorrow. Meanwhile, a transgender woman who killed a cat before murdering a stranger has been jailed for life. Scarlett Blake will serve a minimum of 24 years in prison. And the nation's favourite supermarket is not one of the budget chains. Marks & Spencer has topped a witch poll of shoppers for its customer service and quality food. Those were your headlines. News at 6.
Secure tomorrow today with Man Benham's private client team. Manx Radio Weather with Manx Glass and Glazing.
Karamaya, thank you, Chanel, from the Ronaldsway Met Office. Strong wind warning in Operation 4. Later on, state of sea slight to moderate this evening. Dry, pleasant evening, moderate to fresh southerly. Then a mostly dry night down to 5 degrees. A wet start to Tuesday. Jamaica will clear around midday, then dry with sunny spells in the strong southwesterly, up to 10 Celsius, overnight minimum 6 into Jacrane for cloudy on Wednesday, late morning rain in the strong southerly and top temperature of 10 degrees. Sunsets at 11 minutes before 6 tonight, low water 3 minutes after 7, high tides 5 to 1 a.m, low tide 2 minutes after 7, sunrise 12 minutes past 7, and the lunchtime high water at 4 minutes to 1.
Manx Glass and Glazing are proud to be an approved contractor with Construction Isle of Man. Call the team on 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
The Manx government can't arbitrarily reduce its employee headcount without considering the provision of frontline services. So says the Treasury Minister, Dr. Alex Allinson, MHK, who's been giving evidence to a Tynwald committee today.
In terms of the overall headcount, what we've done right across government is have vacancy management, looking at when a vacancy arrives, whether it needs to be replaced, whether it should be replaced, and how it should be replaced. I think one of the issues that came up with the review of the Office for Human Resources was the need for far better workforce planning, the need for prioritising efforts to try to not only improve the culture within the civil service, but also look at the efficiency and productivity of the civil service. So whilst it can be tempting sometimes to say that we should cut the headcount, the results of that can be quite devastating to individual service deliveries. Is it excessive to employ more nurses? Is it excessive to employ more doctors? Is it excessive to employ more teachers? Because when you look at the overall headcount of the Isle of Man government, out of a total 7,500 people, 2,800 are in Manx Care and 1,700 at the Department of Education, Sport and Culture. They are the dominant employers. When you look at infrastructure, they employ 833 people, and Department of Home Affairs employs 553 people. So those departments just on their own are the biggest employers. They're the ones who give the frontline services. So I think we need to be careful before you start arbitrarily reducing headcount. You look at where that can be done, but still maintaining those services that people deserve and expect.
The inquest into the death of a woman who was found on Douglas Beach has been opened today at Douglas Courthouse. For Max Radio, Tessa Hawley.
Catherine Johanna Catholic of Derby Square died on the 8th of February near Loch Promenade. Emergency services were called there just after 2 p.m. and the walkway was closed off whilst they carried out their work. At Douglas Courthouse today, Coroner of Inquest Rachel Braidwood confirmed the 51-year-old's cause of death was as a result of drowning. The court heard the retired teacher, who was born in Saudi Arabia, had been found lying face down with her head in a pool of water. She was pronounced dead at the scene. She'd been seen by her husband the previous evening and checks showed she'd used her computer on the morning she died. Releasing her body so that funeral arrangements can take place and adjourning proceedings, Coroner Braidwood offered her most sincere condolences to the woman's family. Investigations are continuing and a full inquest will be held in due course.
Update brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300.
A dispute over access to the £10 million Roundhouse facility in Braddan's causing concerns for families planning to use its nursery. A 28-day notice issued by the Department of Health and Social Care to stop vehicular access to the site comes into force at the start of March and has caused the opening of the nursery to be delayed. One of the parents, Chilla, is hoping to send her child there.
My husband and myself, we are both working full-time. At the moment, I'm working when he's off. But it's been extremely hard to find the balance. When we received this email, we both were really, really worried and decided not to leave this slip and speak up about it because the issue needs to be fixed. What I don't understand that an access was proposed and granted back in 2016, such a late stage, why everything started just now when it is so late to do everything. Doesn't make any sense what they're doing. I understand where Mr. Lover Hooper's coming from, but it's such a late state. It will honestly impact businesses, families, and most importantly, the children.
Little Cherubs has been contacting government ministers and MHKs to get answers about the situation, but have only received generic replies. Nursery manager Alicia Barton says parents are anxious and worried about what will happen next for their children.
So the decisions that we're having to make is, with not being able to move to the new nursery, our children have to stay where they are. So any parents who had signed up to us to start, and also children who have started, we're having to make decisions of who actually we can give childcare to. This week we had the difficult decision to tell some parents that we had to reduce their days because we couldn't accommodate everyone, but we're trying to accommodate as many as we possibly can, and it is really difficult.
FC Isle of Man's manager says the club's 6-1 thrashing at the hands of Kendal Town in the NWCFL Premier Division is a big reality check. Speaking to Max Radio after the final whistle, Paul Jones says the Ravens will need to be more consistent if they want to get promoted in the near future.
There are some positives there to look hard enough, but it's very difficult to look past that kind of first 30-35 minutes really, when we just weren't at the races and we didn't do anything that we'd planned to do, and certainly didn't put a very good performance in at all, and deserved what we got in the end. Is it a reminder, do you think, that your team and just the club as a whole still has a long way to go if it really does want to be pushing for a way out of this division in the near future? Yes, it's a big reality check where nobody can come into a game expecting just to turn up and put a performance in, and as good as we were for large parts of the game against Bury last week, we didn't get anywhere close to that in the first half. You can't have that inconsistency even at this level of football. A reasonably good team will find you out, and I'd be wrong in saying Kendal didn't have to create very much in order to cause us problems in that first half an hour. We created them all ourselves, and that's a lack of focus and concentration and application and commitment to what we're trying to do that, it's easy to turn up against Bury and do that, but it's got to be done every week over 46 games in a season. And today we haven't turned up, and enough players haven't turned up with the right mindset and the right qualities and the right kind of resilience to put a performance in, and you're going to get found out at this level of football if that happens, and that's exactly what we did. And although we had a reasonably decent reaction, you shouldn't need to concede 5 goals for that to happen.
Sea Watch with the Isle of Man Steam Packet Company.
The vessel Manxman departed Heysham at 18 minutes past 2. She, as I speak, is going astern onto the link span in Douglas Harbour and will be discharging fairly shortly. Out this evening at 8:45 to Heysham, arriving there at midnight 30. The overnight departure from Lancashire is 2:15 a.m. back to Douglas at 6 tomorrow morning. And the morning departure for Manxman tomorrow, 8:45, Douglas to Heysham.
Follow the Steam Packet on Twitter for the latest sailing information.
A backbench MHK says it's not too late for the Chief Minister to avoid a vote of no confidence, but he needs to start listening to the public. Arbury Castle Town and Maloo member Tim Glover is one of several members asking constituents for feedback on Alfred Cannon's future following concerns over the budget and the sacking of the now former Education, Sport and Culture Minister.
I'm beginning to lean that way, having listened to people, but it's not too late for the Chief Minister. He's very set on the island plan, and any dissing of that really is viewed as just negativity, and we're going to stick to the plan. We're a government with a plan. You've got to bring everyone on board and bring them along with you. So I think that the Chief Minister just needs to stop and listen and listen. Listen to his fellow MHKs, listen to what the people are saying, listen to what the Chamber of Commerce and the unions are saying. Now, they're almost singing off the same hymn sheet, which very rarely happens. So if that's the case, that to me says something's wrong.
You've expressed some perhaps lack of confidence in this administration previously when you resigned from the DOI. Why is now the time to be starting to have this conversation?
Because of the way that the public are responding, and there is a big response from the public. I was at the Southern 100 dinner last night, and there was only one topic of conversation away from motorcycle racing, and that was what's currently happening with the government and how unhappy people were with it.
Your constituency colleague, Mr Morehouse, he's also posted on social media about this topic. He's making the point that options are limited. You do need to think carefully before you rush into anything. Are those concerns that you would share as well?
I would share those concerns, and I'm not going to enter into any discussions about who it should be, and if indeed the Chief Minister does face a vote of no confidence and loses it, that will look after itself. But we do need to just have this conversation at the moment, and I again plead with the Chief Minister, Alf Cannon, listen, to start listening to people.
Manx Radio Business Briefing.
At 17 minutes before 6, Ocado slumped today following a report over the weekend that Marks & Spencer's withholding a multi-million-pound payment to the group after their grocery delivery venture missed several key performance targets. The companies joined forces in 2019 to create Ocado Retail, a £750 million tie-up that gave Ocado customers access to Marks & Spencer. Previous, it was accessing Waitrose. Under the terms of the deal, M&S is due to pay Ocado a final instalment of £190.7 million by August. The payment's contingent on Ocado Retail's performance against an undisclosed target in the year to November 2023. And for a full daily market report, go to ramseycrookall.com. Global air cargoes facing disruption from the rapid growth of Chinese fast fashion companies. Between Shein, Temu, Alibaba and TikTok, more than 10,000 tons of goods are shipped every day, equivalent to 108 Boeing 777 freighters. Cargo Facts consulting data found these firms have business models that rely on speed and constant product turnover, and their unprecedented demand for air freight has left traditional carriers struggling to keep up. Plus, increased competition for cargo space has resulted in rising prices and delays. Speaking to Reuters, industry insiders said this model of airborne e-commerce is unsustainable sustainable both for the environment and for profits. Also, supply growth of long-distance freighters will struggle to keep up with the growth of cross-border e-commerce. Director of Greater China Operations at freight forwarder Balor Logistics, Basil Rickard, told Reuters the shipment demand from Chinese e-commerce companies is currently affecting air freight more than Red Sea shipping route disruption. In a market report from last year, Boeing estimated China's air cargo fleet would triple between 2022 and 2042.
The Stock Market Report, brought to you by Ramsey Crookall.
UK and European markets closed lower. The dollar inched lower ahead of a macro-packed week. Oil slipped a little, and gold inched lower as market focus shifted to US inflation data due this week. The numbers now from Ramsey Crookall. At the close in London, the FTSE 100 down 0.3% at 7,684 at the close. The DAX in Frankfurt up 0.02% at 17,423. A short time ago, New York City, where the trading day continues, the Dow Jones Industrial is up 0.03%, 39,143. The Nasdaq Tech Stocks Index up just over 0.1% at 16,021. In the Midwest, the S&P 500 is down 0.07% at 5,085. In the exchange markets, the British pound sterling trading at $1 26.8 cents, €1 16.6 cents, and 24 South African rand 49.9 cents. In commodities, gold's down almost 0.4% at $2,028 per troy ounce, and a barrel of Brent crude up nearly 1.5% at $82.13.
I'm running late again. Do you know where I put my car keys?
In the fridge.
Where's my phone?
Under the dog basket.
Bye.
You haven't forgotten that we're seeing Ramsey Crookall later?
Oh, no, of course not. 5 p.m, is it?
2:45.
I'll be there.
Life is busy. That's why Ramsey Crookall's team takes time to help you make a mindful investment decision, considering all the options, giving you full control of your financial future. Less stress, more assurance.
Forgot to put my shoes on.
See how we can make your money work for you. Call 717171 or visit ramseycrookall.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
The Isle of Man in 30 minutes. Update on Manx Radio with Andy Wint.
Last July, 2 drug traffickers who tried to import almost £100,000 worth of cocaine to the island, concealed in a fridge, have been jailed for a combined total of 17 years. Here's Tessa Hawley.
Rosemary Ellen Burgess and Peter Philip Nolte were sentenced at Douglas Courthouse. The duo had attempted to have almost 1 kilogram of the Class A drug shipped to the island from the UK on the 29th of September last year. However, the package containing the mini fridge, which was destined for Burgess's home on Old Laxey Hill in Laxey, was intercepted by police as part of Operation Fortress. The court heard the drug had a purity of 77%. Both Burgess, who's 22, and Nolte, who's 40, had pleaded guilty to being concerned in the production of cocaine between the 25th of September and the 3rd of October. Nolte had also admitted possessing the Class A drug and criminal property. Burgess had also pleaded guilty to possessing cannabis and attempting to possess cannabis with intent to supply and possession of criminal property in a separate incident from 5 months earlier. Asking Deemster Graham Cook to consider her fragile mental health, Burgess's advocate asked for a tariff which gives her hope for the future and one which would ensure that she's alive at the end of the sentence. Nolte's advocate described her client's actions as a monumental lapse of judgment, adding his role went no further than helping to produce the cocaine to the island. Describing Burgess as a facilitator who'd been used as a post box, Deemster Graham Cook jailed her for 8 years. Addressing Nolte, who he put behind bars for 9 years, he told him it was serious drug offending, adding, "You have an appalling drugs record."
Manx Radio Sport.
Faster by Siobhan Fletcher.
Faster by. Starting with cycling this evening, Manx elite women's competitor Lizzie Holden has announced she's been forced to take an off-season. She's been ruled out on medical grounds following a recently discovered Epstein-Barr infection. She says she's trying to stay positive and take each day as it comes. Holden recently extended her contract with Women's World Tour team UAE Team ADQ. Elsewhere, Mark Cavendish was also out of action in the 6th stage of the UAE Tour in Abu
Dhabi this weekend. He pulled out of Saturday's stage due to illness, with the decision made to allow him time to recover better ahead of his next races. The 7th and final phase of the tour took place yesterday, with the Manx Missiles Astana Kazakhstan team coming out 14th overall. Elsewhere, Manx resident Ben Swift came in 56th for Ineos Grenadiers, who took the 4th spot overall. In more positive news, Manx competitor Tyler Hannay won the 2024 Clayton Spring Classic in Lancashire this weekend. He took the title for his St Piran team in an epic breakaway from a 4-up sprint after being caught by 2 chasers. And in athletics, Amy Christian of Manx Harriers had a very worthwhile trip to Sheffield on Saturday to compete in the women's 400 metres event at the BUCS, or British University's Indoor Track and Field Championships. Christian took more than 2 seconds off both her indoor and outdoor personal bests for the distance, with an impressive time of 62.08 seconds. Although still based on the Isle of Man, Amy is a Chester University student and was representing them at the meet. Running in lane 1, which is not a favoured lane for any athlete on the tight 200 metres indoor tracks, she ran the opening lap in around 29 seconds and showed good strength during the second 200 metres to clock a very pleasing time in a strong field. Of the 55 competitors across all the heats, she came out 33rd overall.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Inbound at Ronalds, where the 5:25 Loganair from Newquay via Manchester came in 5 minutes late. Next, it's the 5:28 Loganair from Liverpool on time, the returning patient transfer, and the 8:05 Loganair from London City. They're both on time. Slim pickings outbound tonight, just the 6 o'clock Loganair to Liverpool. Quick word also that the inner lane of the Terminal Building Road at Ronaldsway is temporarily closed for ground repairs and necessary work, so just be aware of that. Elsewhere on the roads, closures south of Kirkmichael on the Ballalai Road for water main work. In Douglas, Hillside Avenue is closed for adjacent office window replacement. Section of Switzerland Road's closed till November. Temporary lights at the bottom end of Summer Hill. Also temporary lights on Crosby Terrace near the Dukes Road junction. Temporary lights on Brighton Terrace at the Mount Bradder junction. And also temporary lights on Loch By Tower House. They're cleaning the building fascia. In Glen Tramon, temporary lights on Lazaire Road for resurfacing. Phase closures on the Starvey Road for water main work. And the bottom end of Ballabooey Road is closed for ditching work. Part of the Lubes Road at Foxdale closed between Erie Dam and Conslew Road for patching work, and Bluebell Lane Crosby's closed for ditching work, linking Ayrton Road and the Ballavitchel Road. The bottom end of Mount Gorn Road in Gants is closed for patching work. At Cronkovody, temporary lights there. And Parliament Street, Ramsey's closed from Court Road to the end of Bourne Place for repairs to speed ramps, and there's a reversal of the one-way system at times. Temporary lights in Baldrine, north of the Liverpool Arms. Phase closures on the Ballakill Furrick Road. Temporary lights on King Edward Road between Groudle and the A2 for trial pit work. And Kean Drockard Road in Andreas is closed in phases for water main work.
Ask how you can spread the cost interest-free at
Quayside.
Update, brought to you by Simcox Advocates.
Fast am I, it's 6 minutes before 6 on Manx Radio. Also, the matrix signs aren't showing any problems at the moment. Well, apparently it is too expensive to keep the Ben My Chree ready for sea at all times, just in case other things go wrong, according to the steam packet. Currently, if there is an issue with the Manxman, it takes 12 hours to prepare the vessel as a replacement. The story from Amy Griffiths.
In a statement sent to Manx Radio, the steam packet company says as the backup vessel, the Ben My Chree has a core crew on board at all times. However, it claims that because of its age, there are more maintenance requirements for the Ben, and the ongoing job list is quite extensive. Therefore, it says being on immediate readiness stops the crew from being able to carry out these tasks. The company says if the Ben were on 6-hour notice, for instance, there'd only be enough time for 1 hour strip down, 4 hours of work and 1 hour of rebuild. However, being on 12-hour notice means much more complex tasks can be undertaken, reducing the need for work to be completed in dry dock and increasing availability and reducing costs. Once a decision has been made to activate the Ben for service, the 12-hour window gives time to prepare, including warming the engines and machineries, stocking stores with perishables, as nearly all of the food served on board is cooked from fresh, transferring crew from other vessels in order to bring the Ben My Chree up to passenger service levels, and completing a checklist of tasks in order to prepare the vessel for sea. According to a response to a written Tynwald question, the Treasury Minister Alex Allinson revealed a number of cancelled sailings in the last quarter of the year almost doubled from 2021 to 2023. Dr. Allinson says last year's statistics were affected by a number of issues, including unprecedented number of storms and familiarising crew with handling the Manxman in extreme weather to avoid the risk of an accident resulting in catastrophic injury, damage or pollution to ship or port infrastructure. You can see the full Steam Packet statement and Tynwald written answer at manxradio.com.
That's it for Update Tonight, compiled from the resources of Manx Radio's news department. Thanks to newsreader Chanel Suku, producer Amy Griffiths. Remember that Ramsey Town Hall hustings tonight for the Commissioner South Ward by-election. It's at 7 o'clock, the West Hall, Ramsey Grammar School. After the news at 6, Philly Gorn is on with Agenda Greatest Hits with Chris Kinley at 6:30, and I'm back tomorrow at 5:30.
WINT